right. Well, listen, let's cut to it here. We're here with Stuart Pearce from the Sales Trainer. So, Stuart, listen, I wanted to just kind of ask a very open question to start with. So, obviously, it says it in the name, the Sales Trainer. You train people in sales. What aspect do you find that you most focus on in the sales process? Like,
it's really different for every single person because the people we train. So, as an example, you'll have a SMA business owner who, is the MD by the title on their business card, but actually they don't have a salesperson, so they have to do it. You get more passion behind that very often because it's theirs, it's their baby kind of stuff, so they want it to work. But then the other end of that scale, you get your kind of corporate teams and your sales teams who are, one of many, shall we say, and some of those who are less passionate, or should we put it, can get lost in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a different approach for each. But I mean, I guess one of the big things on sales, we talked about closing and getting a deal and that kind of stuff. And one of the biggest things about that is people wanting to close. Wanting to get it. They all want to get it, but it's kind of what do you say it's almost like a mystic art seemed as that, I've got to close. Oh, yeah, well done. That's what you're paid for kind of thing,
Yeah.
That's the job,
What do you mean want to close? How can somebody be in sales and not want to close? Or is there a nuance
So as
there?
you would be surprised and no doubt astounded at the amount of times I've sat in sales meetings or listened to sales calls where they'll chat away and we all go back, I've got to build a rapport. And I promise you, how are you today and what's the weather like is not building rapport. But we can get to that later.
Okay.
But, people will kind of get into the swing of things and they'll be talking and then they'll kind of finish the conversation. And because they did too much of like the rapport build and the playing nice, they don't feel comfortable then asking for the money. It's a very British thing.
Right. Okay. I was going to say there might be a cultural element to that as well, right? Because I imagine some cultures, they're just like a hawk straight in.
As you know, I've trained people all over the globe. And, if you go to, I was in Hong Kong a couple of years ago. And weirdly, they'll think nothing of discussing £1,000 worth of business on a WhatsApp.
Okay, with colleagues.
Whereas if you did, with a client, they'll do sales on WhatsApp.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, that makes sense because that was a cultural shock that I had coming to India, where I'm based at the moment.
Yeah.
Right, where I would reach out to people on LinkedIn just to network, say, oh, do you want to meet up for a coffee or a drink sometime? And they're like, in the UK, it'd be like, sure thing, ping me an email, drop the email. Yeah. Sure thing, here's my WhatsApp. I was like, whoa. And that was, I told a friend of mine that, and he was like, yeah, that's normal here. Is that not normal where you're from?
It got me. When we're over there, it's like £500,000 apartments and that kind of stuff. And they have these discussions on WhatsApp. And I'm thinking, what's going on? If I got a WhatsApp like that in the UK, I think, why is this 12-year-old messaging me?
Yeah.
But then Emirates is different. Go to Dubai and such like. You can't use Skype.
You can't?
No, it's not allowed. In fact, a lot of social media stuff isn't used.
It's banned.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just not used. It's not, it's frowned on all sorts. So, people think you just rock up, say the right things and get a sale.
Yeah.
I wish. There is so much more that happens before, after, and during, and behind that for that to work well and to work regularly, if you like.
Okay. So what does someone look like who's tentative to make the close? Like what kind of behavior, if you're listening to a phone call and then after a phone call, you said to me, yeah, Suraj, that guy was terrified or that girl was terrified of making the close. What would you have heard on the phone to tell you that they were terrified? They weren't just leading to it, but they're actively avoiding it.
Yeah. So normally it would be somebody whose first role isn't sales for a start. Okay. That's not to say that people in sales roles don't do that, but if you want to pick a particular character, it's one of those who are doing sales because they have to.
Right.
Not because it's their role, they've chosen to, if you like.
Like an entrepreneur who's main function in the business might be
and this, I said this to somebody the other day who was an accountant. And they said, well, I love accounting, but when someone walks in the office and I've got to sell to them, I'm going to cold sweats. And I said, look, you do understand that if you don't learn to sell, you don't get to do the thing you love doing. Whether you love web design or interior design or whatever it is, whatever you have your passion for, and most business people start because of a passion for something, because I want to do this for myself, until you learn to sell, you don't get to do the thing that you love doing, the reason you started it. So generally you'll find it's people who their first choice of things to do is not sales.
Yeah.
And it's a very British thing, if you like, in this instance, but we feel a bit rude asking for the money.
Yeah.
And you'll hear that, they'll go every question they possibly could, except, right, would you like to buy it? And then they'll do this thing where the one you'll get is when they get asked how much it is, and they go like, it's £500.
Right. No confidence.
It's like, if you can just, I had a client a couple of weeks ago who said to me, I'm thinking of dropping my prices. I'm like, okay, why? And he does social media management. So he does a retainer model, which is like, I think it was £300 a month, and he'll play with your social media stuff for you, post and that kind of thing. I said, okay, so tell me you're thinking. He said, well, I thought that if I dropped it to half that, to 150 a month, I'd get more people to do it. I said, okay, I see you thinking. What's going to happen there is you'll go from £300 to £150 for the same work, but you're going to have to do twice the amount of work to make the money you're making now. So if you're doing 10 clients a month for 300, to make that same money, you've got to do 20.
Yep.
Why would you do that? But it's because we have this fear of pricing.
Yep.
We talked about this the other day. When I start a session with an SME or an entrepreneur, there's three questions I'm going to ask them first off.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, are you good at what you do?
Yep.
Do your clients benefit from it when you do it for them?
Yep.
And could you sell it to your best friend and still be their best friend?
Mm-hmm.
And that last one's the kicker. Because yeah, I'm good at but look, oh yeah. It's like, look, do you know what you're doing? Do your clients like it? And are you proud of it? If you can answer yes to those, the rest I can show you how to do it. I can show you how to do that sales stuff. That's just technique and questioning and that kind of stuff. That stuff you can learn.
So is the last one fundamentally having a belief in the product, in the sense that
100%.
Right? Because if you didn't believe in your product and you sold it to your best friend, you'd be pulling the wool over their eyes, and you might feel bad about it. So they wouldn't be your best friend. All right, I see that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, are you proud of what you're offering to people?
Mm.
Now, will you shout it from the rooftops, kind of stuff? Yeah, and if you won't, then perhaps you will rethink what you're doing.
What you're saying, yeah.
Because, and you're right, Stuart, with any sales, whether you're a salesman for a company or it's your thing you're selling, if you don't believe it's going to work for that person, that's a tough gig to sell that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we've heard it for years. You've got to believe it. And you absolutely have. If you don't believe in what you're doing, you're just saying words to sell it.
Yeah.
And it comes across in the way there is so much psychology, if you like, behind sales and the phrases used and the questions you ask and all kind of stuff. If you don't believe what you're saying, we've all, get very political on a Friday morning, but we've all seen politicians and celebrities saying things, and we think, no, that's not right. You're not even believing that any more than we are, But then in a sales environment, that's a real struggle.
Yeah.
People, it's certainly in this country, not so much the rest of the world, but certainly it's weird. So in the States, for example, if you say, I'm a salesman, they go, oh, right. Because they know in the States, you learn your craft and it's a job. In the UK, if you say, I'm in sales, they go, oh.
Yes.
I'm sorry. But as I've said, I do a lot of speaking events, as you know, and I stood on stage at one end of last year and I said, look, let's get this straight right from the start, okay? If your business does not create enough revenue to pay the bills, you have a hobby.
Yeah.
And it's the number one skill in any business to create revenue. Because like I said, if you don't sell your thing, you don't get to do your thing.
Yeah.
If you can't sell it enough that it pays your bills, then it's get a job time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's a terrible thing to say on a Friday morning, but I love it. I had a board meeting at a client a few years ago, and it's the operation investment. There's a big old bunch of people there, and I'm there, and one of the kind of supervisors was going, "Oh, we're not in sales." And I went, "So what you're saying is every single person you speak to or phones in takes what you offer. Well, no, of course not. Okay, so then which bit don't they like? They were, it was like car hire, so it was the collision damage waiver thingy they'd pay, I said, okay, so if they say don't want that, what do you do? And she was going, we talked about the features and benefits of it. And I went, and the operations director is doing this. Because you can hear her leading herself into, oh yeah, we're in sales, aren't we?
Wow.
And right from, your local electrician to massive insurance company, they're in sales.
Yeah.
Now, the bigger you are, the you start getting teams of sales guys and that kind of stuff, but the principles are still the same.
Yeah. I think in business, we're all fundamentally selling. If you break it down to a certain level, it's like, even if you're trying to get the trust and respect of people around you for a purpose in the future, and it might be very, very abstracted away from the actual ROI and revenue of the company, you're essentially selling yourself. You're selling, you know what I mean?
Every time you walk in, when you walk into a networking event, or you go on, your screen pops up on a networking event, or I say to sales guys as training, don't ever leave your house without business cards in your pocket, because you never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah,
but better than that same instance, think about how you're behaving.
Yep.
We've all had the stories where this guy cut me up, so I shouted at him in the street, and then I walked in, he was the guy interviewing me. There's lots of stories. I hear all sorts of stories like that, but just think about how you behave. Salespeople they're a necessary evil, shall we say? I mean, I like them because without them, I'd have to get a proper job. I'm good with salesmen. But it's funny that in this country, the most I've seen is this country where we have this almost natural affliction against salespeople.
It's like this is off topic, but it's like that for bankers as well. You walk into a room full of people, and you tell them you're a banker. It's like, oh, it's probably not even like one of them ones. Like, oh, it's probably like,
yeah, I've done it where I've walked into like events and then you do just I go, yeah, good morning, I'm a sales trainer. Should I go now? It's like, because yes, I'm the guy that shows the salespeople how to do it properly. And that's the thing that gets me. It's like, my job is to make sure salespeople do it properly, and nicely and well. So don't knock me for it. I'm trying to get this, fixed it for you, sort of thing. We've all seen Wolf of Wall Street and all that kind of stuff. And I've actually more than once have people quote that film at me.
Sell me a pen, probably.
It's
a classic.
That is. I actually said at one point, I said, right, let's just get this straight, shall we? The Wolf of Wall Street is not a target for achievement. It's a moral story.
Yeah.
Don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like if you look at it in the 80s, that worked great because we knew no different. Mm-hmm. Now we've all grown up a bit and thought, hang on, that's a bit off. It won't work anymore because we've all realized, because that was the only way it was done, we thought it was right. But because now we've things have changed and internet and yada, 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 people won't fall for that anymore. People are much wiser now than they ever used to be.
Yeah,
I've done it where I've been speaking at an event, and when I come off stage or I walk out the way, and if I pick up my phone, I can guarantee people in that audience have checked my LinkedIn profile while I'm talking.
Yeah.
And it's the world we live in. So in terms of sales now, you cannot, as you put it, pull the wool over people's eyes now, because it's so easy to find out or be found out.
So much ready access to information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If we go back to what we were talking about there, so you're listening to someone on the phone. They don't quote the price confidently. They don't sound confident in their product. They sound very tentative about what they're saying. We're going down the right lines here. This is someone who's not closing the sale. And they're being too friendly and not getting to the hard stuff.
They get caught up in the whole building rapport thing, which is right. There's the I hear it all the time. Oh, know, like, and trust. They've got to know, like, and trust you, and that is right. But if you keep telling people that, what happens is human nature kicks in, and they try and make you do that. Oh, they've got to know, like, and trust me, so I better make sure they do that. So it takes away from the role you're actually trying to do. Yeah, but you're trying hard to be liked.
Yeah,
and for them to trust you.
I think when you've bought something from an exceptionally good seller, then you see the difference. You like the person, you trust them, but you also see them constantly steer back to the sale. You constantly hear them say, Right. Okay. No, absolutely, mate. I know exactly what you mean. But so onto that. So what we do here, and then they go back into it, and you're like, right, okay, they're not.
One of the
my
things
friend.
that panics most people, and salesmen included, when they talk about objections and handling objections.
Very interesting topic. Yeah.
So again, let me clarify. An objection is just a question or query you haven't answered yet.
Mm-hmm.
More commonly known as a buying signal.
Yep.
The only thing you have to get through, and this is, if we're talking about people who aren't sure, objections will come at you. If you talk to enough people, you will get regular, standard, hear this every week objections.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What you'll find is sometimes those objections at the start of the conversation aren't real. It's like you phoned them, you've interrupted their day, they were busy doing email over and they've answered it, and now I'm caught on this sales call. So I'm going to, whatever chance I get, I'm going to say no to you. So people will go, oh, do you have enough time to talk now? Oh, yeah. No, I don't. Sorry. Got to go.
Yeah. You give them a closed question where they can say no.
Absolutely. And we talked about this before. You know, if you give them a question at the beginning that requires a yes or no answer, you're going to get a no because you give them that get out to get off the phone call and carry on with their day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's things like, so we know you're making a sales call, but if I get a phone call in the office to me that says, oh, hi, Stuart, my name is such from so-and-so. How are you today? I know 100% that's a sales call.
Yeah.
Because of the way you approached it. Because some plonker told you that asking how the person is today is building rapport. I said this at an event a while ago. I said, right, show of hands, who would give me £5,000 for a sale if I asked you about your holiday?
Or no one.
Of course it wouldn't. That's not rapport, that's small talk.
Okay. So then segueing into this, yeah. How do you build good rapport?
Okay. Rapport is about finding common ground.
Okay.
So if I've made an inquiry to you about the thing that you sell, then that's what we can talk about. Because that's our common ground. I think I want what you sell. I just want you to convince me.
Yeah.
That's rapport. It's about, okay. When we start with the training, when I first started more years ago than I care to mention, you did what you were shown, what you knew. Yeah. And that's the hurdle with a lot of sales trainers. They just show you what they were taught.
Right.
Now, one of the things we've built over the last few years is 5 things to think about with all your sales. Okay. So you think about those 3 questions I asked you earlier, I'd follow that with 5 tips. And then everything we teach you from then on feeds back into those 5 tips. The method is that simple. And I had this conversation with another director of training the other day. And she went, well, everybody knows that. But do they though? Because I promise you, I do this every day. Everyone doesn't know that. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you the 5 if you like. So the first one is, it's about them, not you.
Yep.
All too often, the salesperson will be there and they'll just try and get the sale. So they're not thinking about what you. So their rapport build is, how's the weather? You're going on holiday this year, all that kind of stuff. Because all they're trying to do is get what they can start selling to you. Doesn't feel very nice from the receiving end, and it's not very comfortable. Doesn't set you down, and there's no like, no, and trust in there. They're just trying to get to the selling part because it's my job. I want to get to that part. So I'll quickly ask about the weather, and a couple of years ago, so how are you coping with COVID? Whatever it is, all very topical, but it doesn't. They're just trying to get to the selling part.
Right.
Which doesn't help. So that's why I say, look, number 1, it's about them, not you. I promise you, and anyone listening or watching this, if you go into a sales meeting with a view to help that person, you are more likely to get a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this ultimately starts, just quick interjection before you go into the other 4 points. This ultimately starts with, as you said, being genuinely curious on how you can help them, which
Absolutely.
Always starts with questions.
Yes.
Questions of what? Open
questions.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we want conversations. We don't want yes and no. We want conversations. Yeah. And I said, and that's the thing. If you go into this meeting or this call trying to sell, that's where you fall over yourself and use the closed questions, and it got to tuition because you're trying to rush to get to the selling part. Take your time. It's about them, not you. Yep. Number 2 is you've got to show them value and urgency. So if we have a conversation about something I've got, but you see no value in that, you're not going to buy it, are you? So they've got to see the value, but don't necessarily mistake value for monetary value. It won't always be the case. There is a point when it becomes about money, but value, first of all, if we both sell the same thing and it's the same price from either one of us, monetary value is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. It's the other value we show that makes them decide. Yeah. And if you show them value with no urgency, all they do is Google somebody else. It's the world we live in. Yeah. I'll show you how great this thing is, but don't show you the urgency or for the right price. You just Google it after I finish talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to show them value and urgency.
That's value in your own product, what you're selling.
Yes, absolutely.
Your value.
And the value to them.
Right.
The difference that's going to make to them.
Ties back into the open questions that you'd start with, ultimately, because the value would be tailored to what they've told you their problems are.
And it kicks number one in as well, because it's about them, not you. It's about you showing the value for them.
Exactly.
Not you, the value to you to get in a sale, not your commission value. Yeah. Number 3, and I always say to people, look, as of this minute, we do not use the word sales pitch because it puts a thought in your mind and a mindset, and now you try selling. So number 3 is have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And lots of people say, "Oh, that's obvious." Yeah, but you're not doing it though. So we have a conversation. We talk to people. We find out what they need, what their problem is they're facing, and see if we can fix it. Ideally, be the thing we can sell them. Yeah. Number 4 is follow the process. Now, the process is whatever works for you. Whatever your 5 steps, 10 steps, 25 steps are to getting a sale from hi, Suraj, nice to meet you, to great, sign here, please. Whatever those steps are, once you've got a process that works, keep doing it.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard it, and lots of people have it. Listen, they say sales is a numbers game. Mm-hmm. And it is, but only at a certain point. Once you've got something that works, and I'm being told, and I've still got it, I'm being told years ago, when you get your first sale, remember what you did and do it again.
Yeah.
And I still have what was called then a pencil pitch on a sheet of A4 somewhere in my files, because it was the first sale I ever got.
Nice.
And it was, we used to write upside down. So I'd be facing you on a table and I'd write the words I was saying upside down on the sheet for me so you could read them.
And that's what you did in the sale.
Yeah. We'd sit there at the table and you'd be writing things and certain points and you'd write them. I'd write it the right way up for you, so upside down for me. And I can still do that now.
It's quite an impressive skill.
You get used to it after doing 4 a day, But it's funny to turn kind of have the sheet paper in front of you and write a certain point that you want to get across. But you write it upside down for me so that you can read it.
Yeah,
it's about you, not me.
This is extremely off topic, but can you do that in joint writing, or is it just the standard capital letters?
Yeah, it's all. I'm not that good. It's just capital, I'm afraid, right?
Step it up, man.
My son thinks it's hilarious that I can do that.
Nah, that's impressive. Yeah.
But I used to have an ongoing argument with an old sales rich friend of mine and go, practice makes perfect. I went, no, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. Because if you're doing it wrong, once you practice it, it's still wrong.
Yeah.
So if you think about
proper practice.
Yeah, if you think that get it right, get something that works, now practice it. Now you keep doing it,
Yep.
And that's what I say to people. Look, someone said to me the while ago, I've worked out how you do it. Oh, okay, go on, I'll bite. How do I do it, And he goes, you've got like 25 million bits of stuff about sales in your head. Okay. He says, when we're talking, you just take out the bits that matter to me and that work for me. And I went, actually, you're right. This is how I do it, But I'd never thought of it like that. There's so much stuff in my head, but I just show you the bits that work for you. Because how you sell wouldn't be how the next guy I speak to sell, kind of stuff,
From what I've seen, it's like having tools in the toolbox.
Yeah, absolutely.
At what point to say what thing. And where you apply them comes down to the mastery of the salesperson. Almost.
Yes. But it does, absolutely. But it's all, there's the psychology of, like you said, the example is if, you send somebody a quote for some work you're going to do for them, and then you phone them and say, did you get the quote? Closed question. No, I didn't. Mm-hmm. Whether they have or not, because you've just given them that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you should do is maybe something like, what did you think of the quote?
Yeah.
And they go, I haven't read it yet. That's okay. I'm going to take a minute to take you through it now. Mm-hmm. Kind of stuff, But again, it's that. And then, so number 5, so once you've got your process working, number 5 is don't panic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
nobody, but nobody can sell to everyone. It's just not possible. I have conversations with marketing people all the time, probably once a week, where they tell me they can, change the world of my business. And they'll say to me, oh, well, if I give you 10 leads each week, how many will you sell? And I'll go, probably 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, but you're a sales trainer. I'm aware. I'm aware what I do, but I'm also a grown-up and a realist.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't care what the wolf or somebody else tells you. Nobody can sell to everyone. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Now, some of those reasons are legitimate, as in they haven't got the funds or they're not, whatever it is, and others aren't. The trick is working out which ones are and following up. And that's the thing, follow up. Something 90-something% of salespeople only follow up once.
Wow. Seriously?
Yeah, and yet customers expect to be chased 3 to 5 times before they say yes.
Yeah. First person I spoke to in this series said to me, average amount of times that they would have a touch point with a potential client is 8 to 12. Maximum he's seen is 50. 50.
Yeah.
So giving them back
I'm training with a company now who I first spoke to 2 years ago.
Wow.
It just wasn't right for the time. They came back to me and said, oh, you might remember. So I remember.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. And when that often happens when salespeople have got too many leads or they don't have to work for the leads. Because I don't get this, I'll get the next one.
Yeah.
So they don't see,
is that good or a bad thing?
It's a bad thing.
Okay.
Absolutely bad thing, because they get lackadaisical about the whole thing. They go, oh, well, I'll get the next one. So they don't see the value and the money it's cost to create that lead. If they're just handed an inbound lead once a day for the next 30 days, it's great. I'll get another one tomorrow. But if they have to go and find that lead themselves, they're hanging on to that one. Because I had to make work, time and effort to find that one, And I've seen it before where the guy will go and then they'll say, well, they're just not closing the leads. So they don't have to, because they've got 10 more tomorrow. You're not making it difficult for them. They're not seeing the value. They're not treating each one like gold dust. And what happens then is you tell somebody how great this thing is, but you don't close them because you're not bothered, they weren't listening. So they go to a competitor because you told them how good it was to have that.
Yeah.
The amount I remember doing years ago when they did the home inspector packs, there was a lot of training going on about people doing that. Now, the training for this was like 12.5 grand. But you make like 3 times that back in the first year, sort of thing, And I walked into his office and he had the guy had a pile, about 3 inches high of A4 sheets of paper. And I said, what's that? So that's inquiries. And I went, here we go, literally like a 3-inch pile of these A4 inquiry sheets. And I said, so why are the guys all in there? Oh, that's the war room. Are we starting a war? No, that's the inbound. Okay, I get it. Right. So the guys will happily sit in a phone room together and take inbound inquiries and book those in for meetings. But those that they miss, or they do, are just sitting on the side. Now, egos aside on this one, I said, give me a phone and that pile of paper. I spent a morning phoning through those inquiries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these people who knew it was 12 odd grand and they'd phone and say, please, could I do the training? Could I talk to you, please? And they'd come to a meeting and they'd talk about it,
Why had they ignored them? I didn't follow that part.
Because they were getting easy leads from people. They'd answer the phone and get a lead there.
Right.
So they're getting inbound inquiries and they'd answer the phone and talk to them. People are that excited.
Right. So these are the ones who had emailed in or something.
But if they missed the call, the other one, it was filled in and put to one side. So I picked up that 3-inch pile of A4 sheets of paper, right? I jumped on the phone for 3 hours. Take a guess how many meetings I booked. Egos aside.
All right, I'm going to be reasonable here. 3 hours to get a meeting, I'd say 10 to 15 minutes on a call, maybe 5, but say average about 10. So you had 18, maybe 60%. So I'd say about 12, 13.
Okay. Would you be impressed if I said yes?
Yeah, I'd be impressed, yeah.
Okay. So how impressed are you going to be when I tell you that I actually got 27?
That's fantastic, yeah. Sign me up, salestrainer.com.
Because these guys, they wanted to do it. They knew much, they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is they just left money on the table.
But what's impressive to that is, so I reckon. How many did you call in total?
I called 42.
Right. So the thing that I find impressive is more so than the percentage, given what you just said, right? Given that you said that if you believe in what you're selling and they want to buy it and they like it, you said, there's phrases and things you can say to kind of facilitate a sale. What I find impressive is that you called 42 people in the space of 3 hours. Because that's like, and then when you close them that quickly because you're closing them on average quicker than 10 minutes, right? You're doing it in about what? Like, I can't do the exact math.
So let's scrap that. So 42 phone calls don't necessarily speak to 42 people.
Yeah.
Okay. So actual conversations of those 42, I had 30 conversations.
Right.
So 42 phone calls, 30 conversations.
Yeah. You're doing it like what? That's 180 minutes. So that's 6 minutes on average per close. That's the impressive part to me. Because if you gave me the phone, I would have been sitting there, completely inexperienced salesperson, building rapport, talking about this, that, and the other, not really knowing when's the right time to get in.
Right, but that's because you're overthinking it.
Yeah,
you're thinking, right, I've got to sell this. I knew in that pile of paper there were how many people it was who had off their own back inquired about doing this. So you didn't have to convince them it's a good thing. They convinced themselves. That's why they made an inquiry. Mm-hmm. So if there are 10 steps, if you're at step 3 already.
Yeah.
You haven't tried to phone them and say, and again, this is a return phone call.
Yeah.
Of an inquiry. So they came to them and said, right, I've got 12 grand to spare. I'd like to do this course. How do I go about it?
Yeah.
So as much as 27 sounds great in 3 hours, if you break it down a bit, I'm not that good. Half the job was done for me. I just closed it off, But
then I've got a question then. So you're talking about too many leads can make salespeople lazy. The lackadaisical is the word you've used. So does that mean if you have, let's say you've got a sales team, it's not just you, but you've got a very, very, very strong SDR function. So they're going out, they're getting loads of leads and they're bringing them in, and these guys are just smashing it. Does that mean then that the account executives, the closers of the team, that puts them in a bad position almost? That you're almost giving them the environment to get lazy by having too good of an SDR team? How do you work that one out?
But why would you not get the SDR team to close? Why would you create that lead? Okay, if you go out and get a lead, it means much more to you because of the effort involved for you to get that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm talking about if there are hundreds of inbound leads coming in every month, there's a few more coming tomorrow, so it doesn't matter. But if you've actually had to go out and, it used to be what's called door knocking. Actually, when I first started, you did that. I sold office supplies, and you would literally go to a business park and knock on the door. Hi, I'm Stuart from such as, that's how you did it. It worked. And when you got that interest, you worked it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've been out in the rain knocking on a door sort of thing, Mm-hmm. Different now because of social media and everything else, But if you've had to go and find that lead yourself, you'll work it probably much harder than you would if it was handed to you.
Yeah.
Now, what always amazes me, and I'm sure somebody will scream to themselves when I say this, if they do, is you have your sales guys and you have account managers. They shouldn't cross over. Your sales guys sell. Your account managers keep that person as a customer. They make sure they stay as your customer. So they're still as a sales part to their role. Conversation yesterday with a client, sells whatever it is they sell. I shan't say because if he hears this, he'll know about him. But this thing they sell, it would need to go into something else. You buy this thing, you fit it to something else.
Right.
Okay. And I said, so do you ever say to people when they buy your thing, how you fix for your such and such? So for example, they're buying A4 sheets of paper, they've got to go into envelopes. Mm-hmm. Do you sell the envelopes? Do you ask them about envelopes? No, I just sell them my paper.
Yeah.
The best person to get money from is someone who's already a customer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they already know, like, and trust you if you want to use that one. They've already given you money. The points, and that's where account managers should come in to get more from the customers you've now got. Mm-hmm. Sales guys sell it because let them focus on the selling. Let them focus on getting the customer in, and then they go, great. Okay, so as well, John will be your account manager. You'll deal with him from now on. So I've separated myself from it. You're now dealing with John. John can now talk to you, and you're happy to talk to John because you know the situation. But John is there to keep you as a customer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I remember years ago, sandwich label company. They were launching, the corrugated cardboard sleeves you get for a hot coffee. They were launching those, and there was a food and beverage show somewhere or other. And I was helping the kind of phone team. And there'd be 6 account managers, and they were going to go off and start. And they'd said, "Oh well, whoever gets the sells the most new, whatever these sleeves are called, gets a £500 bonus." And I went, "What about the phone guys? They're part of the sales team." Whatever it was. So, okay, how about this? You've got an invite list where you want to bring customers. How about you give me the list of those that don't manage to make it? It was in London, some of them are in Scotland. Yeah? I said, for example, so you give me the list of those that didn't make it, and I'll phone them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I beat the sales team and get more new customers than they did, we get the £500. The guy says to me, "What happens if you?" And he says, "Which one of the sales guys?" I said, "No, I'll take all 6 of them
together.
I'll take on all 6, not one of the guys. I'll take on your 6 account managers at the show. How many they sell all together? Give me the sales that don't come, and I'll phone them. And if I beat your account management team, all 6 of them, then the telesales guys get the bonus." He says, "What if you don't beat them?" I went, "I'll pay the £500 bonus." As you may have worked out, knowing how you do now, I didn't pay the bonus. The telesales team got it.
Nice.
Because they just thought it's what my first ever sales boss would have called a milkman. They're order takers.
Mm-hmm.
They're saturated market, and they would just tootle around in their nice little company car on their company mobile phone and the company laptop and pop in and see you and say, "Oh yeah, how you doing, John? What can you order?" And take orders.
These are the account managers you're talking about.
Yeah, they didn't really sell. They didn't have to. The market was handed to them.
Yeah.
They would just drive around all day picking up orders, which is great work if you can get it, sort of thing. But you've got to be very careful who you put into those roles. A salesman needs to understand the value of a lead and chase after it and follow up more than once, all that kind of stuff. Account managers need to hang on to those customers.
So going back to that question, it's almost like you're saying if your SDRs are doing a great job getting the leads, then encourage them to start closing them.
Yeah, let them do it. Let them finish the job.
So do you think then in some companies, particularly corporates, the role and job classification is too strict and too defined, and that they don't let the freedom for somebody who has the rapport to go and make the sale?
Autonomy can get missed sometimes in the big corporates. I see it all the time.
Right, interesting.
Because and they get almost blinkered, if you like, about, well, I've created the lead. Oh, well, go to the sales team now. Yeah, but I've got a relationship with them. I can do this because we've been talking to Raj for a while now. He knows me. He likes me. We talk regularly. He's ready to sell. And you're going to hand that to somebody else who he may not get on with.
Very, very, very true. Yeah.
A funny story about when I sold office supplies.
I've actually been in that situation a couple of times, not with salespeople directly. One case with salespeople, one case with recruiters. The first fella I spoke to really liked the guy, really liked what he had to say. It was like getting along with them, this and that. And then he passed me on to his manager, the guy who was going to go get me the job and this. And I was just like, I wish I was dealing with the other guy, to be honest.
Yeah. I've had it both ways, where when I was younger and selling office supplies, our boss would say to us, "Oh, one day you might be good enough to hold my coat." Okay, and then he'd come.
Coat.
Yeah, that's what you say. One day you might be good enough to hold my coat.
Was he taking the piss, or was he serious?
Oh no! I mean, to be fair, he built his business from jumping in a white van, knocking on doors, up to like almost £1 million turnover. So but that was his phrase. That's 2 or 3 sales guys. And then one morning he comes in, he goes, "Oh, well done, Stu." Like what I do, And apparently I'd managed to get this company to place an order that he chased for 2 years and got nothing.
Nice.
So I, of course, being tactful as I am, stood up, got my coat, and I went, "You'll want this then." And I did my coat.
I knew it was going there. I knew you were going to say that.
Like, really? You want to throw that? Thing like it. But I've also had it the other way around. As a sales trainer, where I'm not somebody, and then Phil, my sales director, will talk to them and get them. Yeah. You can't be upset by this stuff. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
They see the full. Again, I'm 6'4", right? So if I'm in a room, people know I'm in a room. 6'4" sales trainer, 3 books, yada yada. It's a presence, as my other half says.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phil, my sales director, not 6'4", not as loud, very good, but not me.
Right.
So it depends on the person I'm talking to, what they can react to. They might not.
It depends on their personality as well.
It does.
Right? Because some
they may not be
overly
chuffed by some 6'4" loud and proud sales trainer.
Yeah, they might find it a bit overbearing, like potentially, right? Or some people might be like, "Oh, this guy's very confident. I gravitate to this." Getting a full-blown discussion with them, because even when we first spoke last week, it was straight off the bat. The rapport was there. We were bouncing jokes, having a laugh.
Yeah.
Whereas some people are they're a lot slower with it. They're a lot more tentative with how they go in. I grew up in Ireland. You probably tell from the accent.
Yeah.
And that just a bit, but it's common there. Just you might have met somebody for 10 minutes, a friend of a friend. Next thing you're taking a piss out of each other as if you've known each other your whole life. Whereas some people, British people, in a lot of places in Britain, like more, I'd say, posher areas of London, it's like super, like, oh yeah. This
There's my other half, bless her. It's one of my oldest friends, like friend 30 plus years. She went, what? Because we're never polite to each other. He phones me, I'm like, all right, sweetheart, or whatever it is. There was always some sort of. He says, why don't you? I said, because if I answered the phone, Eddie, to him, he'd think there's something wrong. He would worry if I used his name. Because for 30 years we've been rude to each other. If I said, Ed, I need a favour, he'd panic.
Yeah, he'd be like, what the hell's
wrong? He'd
I
worry,
know that, yeah.
But then she's also seen me walk into environments where it's, the lads type thing, or a room of solicitors. Mm-hmm. He's like, but how do you do that? I'm like, what I do. So, but you can instantly switch to the environment you're in. So, well, I've been a trainer for 20 odd years. You get used to that, Yeah. I've got one to do on Tuesday in Leicester. Never met these people.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk into a room and start teaching them stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So as a trainer, you have to be able to, one, assess the room in an instant and know who's going to, be cheeky back to you, who's going to sit in the corner quietly, all that kind of stuff. But then you also have to react in a way to fit all of those different impressions.
Yeah.
I kid you not, George, I have literally, the room was dead quiet when I walked in. So I walked in, that kind of, thing you can do to your kids when you trip yourself up. I did that. I walked in, this room was deathly silent and they all looked like, deer in head. I thought, I need to break this quickly, Walking with a laptop and this sort of stuff. And I thought, right, okay. So I purposely tripped myself up. Sorry. I mean, then a minute, guys, and they all laughed and away we're in. But as a trainer, you have to have that skill.
I like that, yeah.
And because I have that, I can walk into, hell of a boast now, walk into any room, any environment, any type of people, and I'll fit in.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Because you have to. I've trained accountants and I've trained shop, retail staff. Entirely different.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen about this, so basically about adaptability, being able to adapt to the room. And it's like what you did there is key, making people laugh. That immediately builds trust, builds rapport, builds that sense of
But you've got to be careful not to make that seem forced or fake.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because we've all met that salesperson who think, you didn't know. It's unconvincing, and then I'm never going to buy from them because you're faking this.
100%.
So it has to be natural. You have to. We've talked about this the other day. 20 plus years I've been doing this, and I love Monday mornings.
Nice.
In August, I've got to go to Scotland in August for a day. I don't care because I get to do what I love doing.
What a life!
I don't care. I've been to Hong Kong and I don't know else, but I get to train people. I love doing this. My other half finds it hilarious. That 25 years close to now, 3 books. I've been everywhere on stage, from Nottingham Motorpoint Arena to the function room of a pub in Bath.
Wow.
And done all those. But I love it.
Yeah. I think when you find that thing that your personality fits with, you like doing it, you like the people you work with, you enjoy the process. That's if I didn't have bills to pay, I would do this for free. Wow. Nice. That's what you want to hear, though, from someone training you, that they would do it for free if they didn't have bills to pay. Because then you're like, right, you actually enjoy this. You're not just doing this to get money off me.
Mate, I absolutely love it. My son wears a t-shirt, little monkey. Obviously grown up around me. He's 18 now. And when he was at school several years ago, he's like 14, 15, used to get an email from the school saying, someone's not done homework, got a detention. It was his mum. So I phoned him and said, mate, what's going on? Come on, you're supposed to do homework. I'll sort it, Dad. Not what you want to hear from your 15-year-old, but okay. So he goes into school next morning, right? Collars the geography teacher on the way into class. So not even in the school yet. Collars the geography teacher on the way into class. Not only does he get himself out of the detention for that evening, he blags himself 2 more days to do the homework he didn't do in the first place.
Wow. It's cut from the same cloth as you then, clearly.
I said, phone me when you've sorted it. So he phones me that next evening. All done, Dad. Right, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Told me. I was like, okay, that's great. But do you not think it was better to do the homework in the first place, mate? And he went, Dad, I'm the son of a sales trainer. Why are you surprised? And I was like, yeah. I was kind of on the phone going, my boy, but okay, that's not really very good, mate,
You still need to do your homework.
Yeah. I said, nice. All right, mate, well, but, should be doing it. I'm going, that's my boy, Nick and my partner's like, don't do that. Yes. Okay, please do, do have anything, but then he kept using it. So Christmas last year, I got him a t-shirt that has the sales trainer logo on the back, and on the front it says, I'm the son of a sales trainer. Why are you surprised?
Nice. I like that one. I was
mildly proud, but kept it to myself. But the thing is, all joking aside, I love what I do, and ego aside, I know that when I train people, it comes across because they tell me.
100%. But one thing I want to touch on, Stuart, is early on the convo, you mentioned about phrases and questions you can use, like almost referring to them as like methodical and like tools, right?
Yeah. Could
you give us a few examples of that? It'd be very interesting to hear.
Okay. So the one example I always give first off is, when you get that email from the sales guy who sent you a proposal or whatever else it is, and at the bottom it says, if you've got any questions, please feel free to get in touch. My details are in my signature. Why would I do that? Why have I got to take my time and effort to phone you? You want the order from me. Why am I chasing you? Now, look at that in a different way. If you reword that and say, proposal attached, whatever it is, I will call you on Wednesday or in 2 days to answer your questions. Now, that fits in with tip 1. It's about them, not you. That's you saying to me as a customer, look, it's a 15-page proposal. I know you'll have questions, but I don't want you to worry because I'm going to phone you a couple days and I'm going to answer those questions for you. So make a list if you like.
Yeah.
So just that same thing reworded gives a whole different feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As an ideal example, if you like.
So if we were to abstract away, right? So I could see that there's going to be a theme here. What is the general principle then? In that, is it create convenience with how you speak to them, or speak from their perspective? Like, for example, I spoke to a guy who said to me, like, you're calling someone and they're probably busy, and instead of starting with the usual, hey, how's your day going, blah blah blah, it's like, thanks for answering the call. I know you must be extremely busy, and you're like, I can't wait to get this guy off the phone. It's just going to take 2 minutes of your time. And to that, then it's almost like they empathize a bit more. That, okay, you know what? He knows where I'm coming. He knows I want to get off the phone, so maybe this won't take too long, and you can both make it quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing you can do, so let's for example say that you're phoning to get an order for office supplies, right? And you know that Dave is the guy who orders it, but you want to make sure. So you could do something like, Dave, hi, it's Stuart from such and such. Quick question before I carry on. Is it still you that has to worry about office supplies? And he goes, yes, it is. Fantastic. Just the man then. If he says, no, it's not. Oh, who does that now then? Because what you don't want to do is give your best pitch ever to the guy in reception.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a bit of kudos to them. You're the guy I want. Fantastic. Right. Now let's chat.
So that's almost identifying who the decision maker is.
Before you do this wonderful pitch you've practiced 57 times, make sure it's the right person.
Yeah.
And also give them a bit of kudos and a bit of respect. Say, I used to think I does it fantastic. Just the man I want to speak to. Just say they want to speak with us, yeah? So make sure first, it takes the edge off that, hello, how are you today? Which just announce. We know it's a sales call, but no need to announce it. Because do you know what happens when you announce a sales call? They do this. Arms get folded, oh, here we go. And they're waiting for that chance to get you off the phone.
Yeah, that is if they don't just hang up straight away.
It's the same with what Emma calls a gatekeeper. So the person who answers the phone they want to get put through to. What most sales guys will do is in their head, they go, right, so as you're just the gatekeeper, you're not important enough for me to speak to, so please just put me through.
Mm-hmm.
And the gatekeeper goes, down goes the because I don't mean to be rude, but it's part of their role is to field those calls. What I'll always show people is, look, you're going to get gatekeepers. If you're phoning business to business, you're going to come across gatekeepers. Don't try and shove them out the way because that's what anyone else does. Be nice. Because if you are nice to them, they'll help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's things like, I'll say, but look, if they can't put you through because the guy's not whatever it is, the person wants to speak to isn't there, we think, as you get off the phone, say, oh, sorry, what was your name again? Helen. Thanks so much for your help, Helen. And off the call you get. When you phone back in a couple of days, you go, oh, Helen. Hi, Helen, it's Stuart again. Now we're friends. And I appreciate I'm simplifying that, but you get the idea. Yeah. The other thing to do, when they say to you that line when they go, could I ask what it's regarding? Don't give them the first 3 lines of your pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So I always use telecoms as an example. You know, the telecom sales guys go, oh, yeah, it's about this, and all this sort of stuff. They're just going to go to their boss, some bloke about the phones.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going, no, I don't want that.
Yeah. So what do you
need? You need a line that person can repeat word for word that makes sense to the person I'm going to say it to. So, for example, I deal with kind of manufacturing guys, and the biggest concern for the people they speak to is the per unit cost. Now, if you're doing 30,000 units a month and you can save 50p per unit, that adds up. That's a big saving. Mm-hmm. That's the conversation I want to have. Even only 10 people, that still makes. So he would be saying, yeah, of course, it's about your per unit cost. He even added, it's about reducing your per unit cost. Any manufacturing manager wants to have that conversation because of their biggest concern. They'll say even 10p off per unit.
Lead with the benefit.
You just want a line that will make a lot of sense to the person we'll speak to that can be just repeated.
Yeah.
I've had people who will repeat this and it doesn't get repeated. So it's a waste.
I think an interesting one with this is like if you take a tech entrepreneur or someone who's a founder, but who is fundamentally the one who built the product, if you ask them to come up with that line, a lot of people, not saying everyone, but a lot of people would start with the features of their product that they want them to know. Whereas
nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. No one gives a crap. It's more about
nobody cares.
What is the benefit to me? And then how can you put that in a way that doesn't sound like you're selling it? Just like, we want to discuss, the percentage rate of click-throughs, or, we can help you increase your percentage click-through or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Things they actually care about.
Yeah, exactly. And it's different for everyone. People say, there is no one line I can give you that if you said it'll work. It's about, again, back to the first tip. It's about them, not you. Think about the concerns they think they worry about day in, day out.
Yeah.
And tell them that's what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I do with the corporates, they tend not to go to networking events. That tends to be the domain of the SMEs. Okay. So doing a 1-minute pitch for an SME networking event makes sense. But when I say to corporate sales teams, give me a 1-minute pitch on what you do. Oh, well, I don't go networking. I'm aware of that. But if you can put what you do into a minute, that's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
That 1-minute, it started from being called an elevator pitch. And the principle being, you get into the bottom of the lift with your ideal customer, you've got till they get off of their floor to convince them to talk to you more. But if as a salesperson, you can put your whole thing into 1 minute or less, that really focuses the mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a funny one we do. We will get them to do a radio show. And we'll put into like groups of 3 or 4. So I want you to write and deliver a radio advert for the business. You got 30 seconds to. That's how long you do it. And they want to know kind of who you are, what you do, how it helps them, and how they get hold of you. And it's 30 seconds long. Off you go. Because it really focuses and makes them think about, right, what do we actually do?
That's a very interesting way to think about it.
I can read the brochure, all 15 pages, and that's lovely. But tell me now, quickly, in a minute, what do you do? Once you can do that, it really focuses, and they stop what we would call padding, putting all those words and phrases that aren't necessary, that don't have any gain to the sale or to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And they just get to the point. They think about how they help the customer. And then it's about them, not you. We've got value, we've got urgency, we've got all that stuff going. And they're just having a conversation. If you make them do that, they stop overthinking it, stop trying to pitch it, and they just talk to people.
Yeah, for sure. That's very, very interesting. I think, I'm just thinking about that there. Like when you're forced to like get into a very small piece of time, it's like, I need to tell you exactly. And then sometimes you just say the sentence that you wanted to use 10 sentences to say one thing, because you thought, this will lead in, segue into the killer sentence. Whereas then you're like, no, I'm just going to say the killer sentence straight off the bat. And when you realize that actually sounds a lot better, because it gets to the point, and either it gets you a yes or gets you a no. Because that's what I've heard from a lot of the people I've spoke to in this series, is that you don't want maybes. You prefer a yes or a no. Whereas a maybe is like, how much effort do I dedicate to this?
Because sales guys, people get caught up in the, I've got to tell all this. No, it's like we're talking about like benefits. You may have 15 benefits to your business, your service, your product.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking to me, only 3 of those matter to me.
Irrelevant, yeah.
I don't need to hear the other 12. They're going to bore me, not relevant, so I'm going to switch off.
Yeah.
When you have that conversation we talked about, get to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what they're telling you and give them those answers. We don't have to do all the around the houses, faffing around and prepare for it. People are busy, even busier now than they ever used to be. We are in a want it now culture.
Yeah.
If you take 10 minutes to go around the houses, they're bored now. They're probably doing this on the funeral.
Yeah, 100%.
As you say to my mum, God rest her, why use 9 words when 27 will do? It doesn't work that way, just get to the point, mum. Just tell me, and I'll do it my other half. Is there a point coming sometime soon? Because I've got to get, But it's been a fair bit of trouble, as you imagine. Mind you, I was also dumb enough to say fine when he said, how does this look? Because you've got to listen. You see, Sir Agents?
Yeah, it's about them, not you.
Yeah, absolutely. Wasn't meant to went, yeah, fine. Oh, crap, I'll get changed. I'm like, what? So even I get it wrong, But, it's about having that conversation and getting to the point where we have in such a fast-paced culture now across the globe. We want it now. I say I've been talking at events on a 15-minute speech, and people are Googling me while I'm talking.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You can't hide it. You are who you are.
How do you get there now? How do you get straight to the point without being too aggressive, too direct,
Right. And see what you've said there is what people expect of a salesperson.
Okay.
That's the expectation we have of a salesperson.
Yeah. So this is overthinking, right? This is where you're like, people think I'm going to be like that, so I'm not going to be like that. And the thing I'm going to be is actually worse than that.
Yeah, because you're trying not to be that. Just breathe, relax, have a chat with them. It's a whole listening and hearing thing. So, we're sat here now and I can hear all that's going on around me.
Mm-hmm.
If I hear a door close, whatever it is, I can hear it. As I do this sort of thing, I'm going to hear other things. Yeah. Listening is a conscious choice. You decide, I'm going to listen when this customer talks to me. And that's what a good salesman does. It's not about closing and all that kind of stuff. That stuff comes with it. If you listen to what's being said to you and the responses to your questions, you will know what to say next.
Yeah.
And the thing to be aware of, we talk about open and closed questions. So closed questions, yes or no, ask them too soon, you're done. Open questions require bigger answers. Who, where, when, why, what, how. There you go. If you ask those, be aware that when you ask that first open question, if you do it right, there'll be another one, another one, another one.
Mm-hmm.
That's called a conversation.
Right.
Have a conversation with somebody and show that you are there to help and you are trying to help, the sales come regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about closing, if you ask most sales teams what closing is, well, getting the order, getting the money. Closing isn't an end result. It's a journey you go on.
Yeah.
And if you do it right, the closing at the end is much easier.
And out of professional salespeople who are trained in sales, maybe not been in it for 20 years, maybe been in it for 3-5 years, if we got 100 salespeople, what percentage of these people do you think get it right most of the time?
Less than half.
So even the people that you'd expect to be getting it right don't get it. And where do they most commonly go wrong, more interestingly?
They'll overthink it. They'll be trying to sell. They'll be worried about targets, not the customer, any number of things. Right? There's a whole lot of, if you're in a corporate team, you're worried about targets. You don't want to be lowest, all that kind of stuff. So you're now pushing to get your sale because you're missing target.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying salespeople shouldn't have targets. Of course they should. That's why they go into sales, because you can make more money, But if you relax from that stuff and just think about how many people can you help, within that helping, your sales will come.
Yeah. Yeah.
People have to stop overthinking sales. My partner is a mobile hairdresser, has been for 30 odd years. Did the cruise ships and all that kind of stuff. And when you do that, you have to stuff. She's a hairstylist, but you are expected to sell and products and all that business. And it's always funny when, as a 25-year time-served sales trainer, 3 books, all that kind of stuff, awards and blah, 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 that she tells me how I should be selling. Always funny. But, people get into these habits of they see a film where they're taught one thing. We do this thing. So look, if there are 10 ways to sell, but you only like doing 4 of them, why would I spend time, yours and mine, teaching you 6 things you're never going to do?
Yeah.
It's much more sensible to find out how you like to sell, what you're covered, and teach you to be fab at that.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. This is where most sales, if those 100 sales, they'll be shown. So the sales manager, when they first start, will show them how the sales manager does it. This is how I do it, so you should do it. Now, how I sell won't be how you sell.
Mm-hmm.
So how does me showing you how I sell going to help you? And that's when you say to me, 100 salespeople, how many get it right? I'd say less than half, because a lot of those will be shown a way that the company sells or the way that the sales manager sells, and they'll be told to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why salespeople move on, because you're trying to get them to, we're only human. You're trying to get me to do something I don't like doing or I'm not comfortable doing. So I'll do it for a bit because I've got bills to pay, and then I'm going to move on.
The churn of salespeople is very high, isn't it?
Because of that.
Yeah.
It's not that they weren't any good. It's because you're trying to make a person, because despite what people think, salespeople are only people and human, they are not the devil. They are just people, and they have the same, issues, emotions, whatever everyone else has. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Despite appearances. But if you make a person do a job that they are not comfortable doing it, they won't do it for long.
Yeah.
Whether that's working in a factory or working in sales.
For sure.
If you force a person to do something they're not comfortable with, they'll stick it out for a bit because we've all got bills to pay, but it won't last. They'll move somewhere where they can do how they like it, where they fit in. And it's the same for sales, but it is for anyone else in a job. Yeah. If you don't like the job you're doing, so whatever, you move, don't you? You change.
Yeah. 100%.
Salesman thing, but it normally stems from, I'm the sales manager. This is how I do it. So this is how you want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't work for them.
So finding the right style that suits you as well.
It is absolutely. You've got to fit in with company ethos and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, for example, I had a lady I spoke to a while ago. Her boss said, "Got 50 phone calls today. Got to do it." I didn't want to do it. I want to do the cold calling. I said, "How about this? How about you write me?" They did, but how to get on the buy-to-let property ladder kind of stuff. I said, "How about this? How about you write me a 3 or 4 page white paper with some tips and tricks on how to do that?" Okay, I can do that, right? And we'll put it on the website and we'll say, "Here we go. Have these tips on how to get the buy-to-let property ladder. Give me your name, phone number, and email, and I'll send you the download." And when the email comes to us, "Here's your download," at the bottom it says, "I'll give you a call in a couple of days to answer your questions." So they download on Monday. On Wednesday, I phone them. That's not a cold call. It's a follow-up call.
Yeah.
You went, "Oh, I like that." So her boss ticks his box because he gets all those calls being made.
He gets his leads. She doesn't have to do the cold calls.
Everyone's happy. We're all winning. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about finding a style and a way and a method and a questioning technique. I mean, go on Amazon and put in sales books. There's thousands.
Oh yeah.
Mine included. So,
yeah.
And it's about and weirdly, I mean, I was a few years ago. I was the head of global training development for a global property company, and had my little office. And the sales guys thought it was hilarious because on my back shelf a bunch of books, including the Dummies Guide for Training. And they thought it was hilarious that the head of global training had the Dummies Guide. I went, yeah, but they're good books. They're a really good reference guide.
Yeah.
They really are,
Yeah.
So
less than a modesty as well, I feel.
Absolutely.
If a new one, you got to stick to the fundamentals.
Somebody said to me the other day, I'd come off stage from an event and they said, oh, so you're the best? And I went, no, I'm not the best. If I ever say I am, punch me in the face. Because it means I've stopped learning.
Yeah.
And as a trainer, there are on the shelf next to me, probably 16, 17 sales books.
Mm-hmm.
None of which are written by me. If a new one comes out, I buy it. Because you just never know what as a trainer, if I look back 25 years at the first telephone selling course I delivered,
mm-hmm.
I imagine the content's fairly similar now. In fact, I know it is. But the way I deliver it and the way it's received is different now.
Yeah.
So as a trainer, you have to constantly be learning.
Mm-hmm. Staying on top of the game.
I need to learn my craft so you can learn yours. Absolutely. I always look at it, say about modesty. When I do this thing on Tuesday, so these guys have no sales knowledge. They're technically minded. They want me to talk, somebody can do that, So it'll be a foundation session, if you like, let's cover some basics of how to use them. And I always look at it and say, right, at 9 o'clock when I start this, I know all this stuff. At 5 o'clock when we finish and you walk out of here, you should all know what I know.
Mm-hmm.
My job as a trainer is to teach you stuff that I know.
Yeah.
So you can go and use it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, how we go about that, we'll see how the day goes, sort of thing. I mean, I've trained everyone from... Last year, I trained a bunch of ex-electricians who are now working in the office doing quotes and stuff.
Wow.
Interesting couple of days.
I can imagine, yeah.
The tone was lowered within the hour. So, okay, that's where we are. Okay, that's the level we're at. Okay, fine, So I adapt my style to fit with what they were used to.
100%, yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I'm training the guys selling spices and stuff like so entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
Younger lads, all that sort of stuff, So you do, so as a trainer, you adapt. But it means I have to keep learning.
Yeah.
I have to look at new styles, and new ways of doing things and new ways of delivery. We do stuff on video and I don't know what else, But you have to, because my job is to teach people the knowledge that I have so they can use it.
Yeah.
And they're comfortable doing it. So when you talk about those 100 salespeople, and I said less than half, those are the reasons why. They get shown a way that the company does it and want to fit for them. So therefore their confidence doesn't go and any number of reasons. But
it's almost a parallel there because you have to essentially coach people the same information in different ways. The same way a salesperson has to elaborate the benefits of a product in different ways to different customers,
absolutely.
In different contexts. Yeah,
100%. And quick tip on that on the whole features. So features are the things that you do. Benefits are what the customer gets when you do those things.
The experience from it. Yeah.
I would recommend to anybody do a little task for yourself over the next couple of days. Sheet of A4 paper, 2 columns, right? Features at one and benefits on the other, and work out what they are. You don't need hundreds. 5 or 6 will do it.
Yeah.
5 or 6 features, and then what that gets to the customer.
The corresponding benefit, yeah.
But the way to make that work in your head is on the middle line of those 2 columns, you write the words, which means. So a feature, which means a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easiest way. I still teach that today. Easiest way I know how to do that, because you're now thinking, right, so I do this, which means the customer gets that. And it's that they care about.
Yeah, that's really good, yeah.
The backwards way to do that is to go, right, this is what the customer's going to get from me. What action do I have to take to create that? That's your feature.
Right, that's good. That's really good, yeah. I like that one. Right, Stuart, I noticed we've ran over the hour, but I'm really enjoying this.
I'm surprised that I talk too much.
last couple of minutes, where can it's all in the back there, but if anyone's listening on Spotify,
yes, there you go.
Where can they find you?
There you go. Yeah, all there, lovely.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me.
The QR code thing goes to the diary open brightly.
Say again?
The QR code goes straight to the diary from brightly.
Awesome. But thanks very much for joining me.
My pleasure.
And I feel like we left a lot on the table, so maybe we'll have to do another one in the future at some point.
More than happy to. There's a lot more we could talk about.
All right. Thank you.
I can do this for days, Suraj.
Brilliant. Cheers, Stuart.